I'm honored to have the following guest on the Randomness of Nothing podcast. I've always been intrigued by what people do when they pivot in life, have fascinating careers, and they shift, and then they decide to help others in the current way that they shift in their lives. I have Tarek Radi. He's a former, this laundry list speaks for itself. Amazon, Microsoft, coach, and now has been a serial entrepreneur, now introducing himself on the show for the Randomness of Nothing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rashad. Thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to meet individuals like you, leaders in your community, and to share with your community some tips and tricks that I learned along the way. And excited to talk to you today.
I also want to mention that you're an Emmy Award winner as well too. So we don't want to leave that out of your background as well too. But you
Yes,
have
yes,
a
it's
20, yeah, you have a very background. You have a very background, sir.
yes. So it's a 25-year plus journey I've had. Like you said, Microsoft, Amazon, Intel as well, Alcatel Lucent. Been in the high tech industry, working a big portion of my career in data center. Usually, it's software based solutions, really. And the Technology Emmy Award I actually won with a bunch of colleagues at Intel. We enabled a lighthouse customer in the data center with a very innovative solution. The Technology Emmy
Wonderful.
is public, and people can go and look at it. It's really a collaboration between Intel and Comcast in the Kubernetes
Beautiful.
world.
You know, it's listen, when you win an Oscar, they don't ask what category it was. All you had matters is you got the statue, right? The award to show for it. So
Yeah,
don't downplay the fact that you have an
yeah.
Emmy. You're still in a very small category of people that have one. So, I thought it was fascinating because you found a career after all those corporate careers too. You have a company called IGotAnOffer.com, and you're also, a serial entrepreneur of the Friendly Voice app. So what is IGotAnOffer.com?
Sure. Yes, I got on offer.com is really a SaaS-based solution where a bunch of professionals sign up as coaches, and then others can log on, have their own account on I Got an Offer. They go in, view their coaches, review their availability and skills and what they bring to the table, and then they schedule sessions with them. I provide a variety of services on that as a coach. Uh, it's an awesome platform. It's been there for a while. I've been a member of that platform for a bit over a year now, I guess. Um, as you said, five-star super coach. I have over 180 clients. The services I provide there include resume reviews as well as mock interviews, uh, things like system design mock interviews, coding mock interviews, and most importantly, behavioral mock interviews, because that's a very important part of the interview process these days. I also help my clients with salary negotiation, and then something that is near and dear to me, which is on the job coaching. So even though the platform's name is called I Got an Offer, it kind of implies that the partnership between the client and the coach ends when they get an offer. But no, we can provide services even beyond that, such as pivoting within the employer environment, career development, things like that.
Right. That's beautiful. And, I can't help but notice about, a site like that when you consider what's taking place right now in the tech industry and then, when it comes to artificial intelligence. And, obviously there's a myriad of factors, so I don't want to paint that with a wide brush, but you're seeing a lot of qualified people, very talented people in this current situation. These companies who had boom hiring during the COVID pandemic now are, kind of doing the
Yes,
things, and then they typically mirror one another. When one does one, the others do it as follows.
yes.
What's that been like in that environment?
Yes, so you hit the nail on the head there. Have a lot of very qualified, very professional, highly professional clients, and they're having challenges landing positions. They have skill sets like you won't believe, years of experience in program management, artificial intelligence. The market is really difficult right now, and they need all the help they can get to really stand out, because just being average doesn't cut it anymore. And the
Without question.
tips and tricks that people used to do to stand out a few years ago, just a couple of years ago, don't work anymore. Everybody now uses the AI to clean up their resume,
Oh
so
yeah,
that becomes the new norm as
right.
well. So to really stand out, it takes a bit more effort there. And that's what I do as a coach, guide my clients on how to really stand out in this environment. I've fortunately had several clients landing opportunities recently, even in this tougher
Wonderful.
environment. But it takes tenacity, it takes perseverance, and it takes each client to drive their own uh,
Right.
career, right? It's
Without question.
I tell them you're in the driver's seat. I'm riding shotgun. I'll give you ideas, recommendations. I'll tell you there's a turn up ahead. It's up to you to steer, and it's up to you to decide how hard you press the gas. Right. So it's they're in control. They're in their. Each one has their own pursuit and a unique problem. But the commonality here is that they are very well educated, very highly skilled, lots
Hmm.
of experience, and still can't land a job.
Do you find it that, and this is just how I've always kind of seen things. It's like I always equate this with streaming services. Everybody went all in on streaming, and then there was kind of a bubble where they had to pull back because they realized there wasn't enough ROI. They realized it was a lot harder to retain customers. They had churn. Do you think there's going to be a situation where everybody went all in on AI, and then they're going to have to pull back because of whatever reasons they may be?
Yeah,
That
we're
for
already
whatever.
seeing that actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're already seeing companies like Microsoft pulling back a bit, saying, and other companies, I forgot the name, they're running out of the planned budget on AI that they plan to spend. So they're overspending in some cases. So and other companies are experiencing hiccups along the way where they really need the skills and the humans who they laid off, and
Yeah.
they're hiring them back again.
Right.
But the commonality is AI is here, and the, it's here to stay.
Without
The
question.
trick is to use it to get ahead and use it efficiently, and you can use it significantly. Like for example, in my case, Friendly Voice app is an app that I've developed from the ground up alone with the help of AI. So I wouldn't have been able to develop it that fast with so much functionality in such a little amount of time. I had to learn a lot of new skills that even with my 25 years of experience plus, I haven't had the opportunity to engage in. So
Right.
it's a large
Beautiful.
field, and AI can help you.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that you have to be very common about not being having the mirror effect, because now whether everybody
Yeah.
has to be everybody has these same comparable skill sets, right, that are easily
Yes.
duplicatable, and a lot of these platforms now have self-learning ones, so now you're going against people who, in addition to have certain project management skills, whereas you might just be just a developer, now you're having to compete with that group of people who are now getting into that space, who want to learn artificial intelligence and machine learning, but have the project management experience as well too. And now you're like, oh man, now it's twofold. Now I'm competing against that person who has a full, breadth and depth of skills that I didn't have to necessarily cultivate over the last 10, 20, 15, 30 years.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right, and that's why right now in this day and age, and especially in 2026, AQ is very important. AQ is adaptability quotient. So in the hierarchy of success, IQ might get you noticed, EQ, emotional intelligence, might get you respected, but AQ will keep you relevant, and that's
Beautiful.
really something I'm coaching a lot of my clients in how to adapt in this environment, how to adjust and pivot, because that's necessary, and that's really is going to make you stand out as
That's
a
one
um, as a prospective employee.
that's massive, and that's great advice that you're willing to share. What are the common mistakes high level engineers make when they get in the hot seat?
Sure, in the interview, they usually first of all they get two very basic questions in the interview. You can always be guaranteed that you're going to be asked. First of all, number one is tell me about yourself. And the second is, why are you interested in this company and specifically this position, and why are you leaving your current job? So tell me about yourself most of my clients, they just ramble on and they go into too much details, and their response is not tailored to the employer. It really has to be, even though they're asking about the candidate, it's really always about the employer. All right, they have specific needs, business needs that they need filled, skills that they're looking for. And as part of your sales pitch, tell me about yourself. It's really a sales pitch because you're selling your time and your skills. As part of that sales pitch, you gotta show them how you deliver what they need.
Absolutely.
Many of my clients, they just, they share general information, hoping it's relevant, hoping that it's something that the employer would find applicable, but it's
Right.
not, right?
Right.
It has to be tailored. I tell my clients, the same question, tell me about yourself, has to have a different answer regardless of has to have a different answer every time you interview with some different company. Even same company, different team will have to a slightly different answer. And
That's
that's
powerful
really
stuff.
one of the big gotchas for
That's
most of my
very
clients.
powerful. I think sometimes it's weird, right? Anytime anybody does a skills assessment or does like a, you know, about yourself, it's easy to talk about something that you do, you've done, or are working on, but you never actually like have put down like that those 10, 12 things. Okay, this is me, this is what my skill set is, this is what I bring to the table. It's very hard to actually like be self-critical, notice gaps, and then work on those things to actually be better at that particular
Yes,
those items and highlight them and bring them out of yourself, because people typically don't want to talk about what they're not good at.
yes. And that's one of the things I do. So I facilitate extracting that story, that unique story that everybody has built through their careers, through their unique experiences. How do you expose that in a very consumable way, in a way that attracts attention, a way that keeps the interviewer engaged and keeps you as a client memorable? So one of the things I teach my clients as well is using their vocal archetypes. This is touching really on Vin Giang's work. He's very famous on social media, especially on YouTube, and he shares with people how you um, can use your voice so that it is not monotonous and it's not boring. It grabs
That's awesome.
attention,
That's
using
awesome.
things like your volume, your speed, your frequency, even, and the pitch. So there's so many um, capabilities. I really love it when he says it's like everybody is born with a piano, and most of us are just playing music with one
That's yeah.
key.
That's
So
yeah.
we keep
That's
pressing
powerful.
that same key, and we think it's gonna create a song. It can't. So you gotta play the melody. You gotta uh, use all the capabilities you have, and it takes practice. It's not easy, especially for engineers. We grew up with professors who are monotonous, right? And we gotta extract that knowledge from them and
Right.
get that grade, right? So it
Right.
doesn't matter how he delivers it. I'm gonna try and extract that information.
Right.
But so we've
Right.
developed that capability and that flexibility of allowing the presenter to not be very vocal. And consequently, as well, us as engineers, we're also mostly monotonous as well. So it's definitely a skill. It's very important to be aware, and that's something at least my clients come out with, knowing that they have this area to work on, and
Beautiful.
I see improvements as well.
What do you say to somebody who physically can't keep to the speed and capability of something that is artificial intelligence? I'm not the smartest guy, but like the information and the speed of which this can put things
Yes.
together, well, even spreadsheets. Like, so, for example, like beautiful looking reports, which was a highly like skill set that only a certain group of people who mastered Excel or mastered Adobe. Now anybody can make a spreadsheet and be a presentation look very, very, very good in an exceptionally short amount of time. At some point, a person physically can't do things at the speed that that does. How do you equate that with somebody who has those hard skills when something can output 20 times faster than they physically can do it, like coding?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the key part here is to uh, go up a level. Go up a level in terms of not getting down to how things are done, but what is needed. Right?
Ah,
Having that
yeah,
vision
yeah,
of knowing, okay, I need this sort of functionality, and then you get the AI to do it. So you use that speed, that capability to really extend yourself. And just like in the Friendly Voice app, which is um, an application that allows those who have special needs and are
yes,
nonverbal to speak. So that's what it
yes,
really is. And it's actually right now out on Google Play Store as
beautiful,
it's an open testing phase right
yes,
now. And everybody's welcome to give it a try and download it. I built that using AI because I know the domain. I have the knowledge about the domain. My child has special needs. He's going to use that device, so I know what to look for. So having that level of knowledge from a business standpoint, AI can't get you that, right? It can give you the facts about the field, the area you're in, but it's
correct,
up to you to define the strategy, right? Building that strategy, coming together with a team, for example, to define that takes skill. That's a different level, and then you're going to leverage AI to move at the speed of light, right?
right, and
So yeah, yeah.
it
Go
still
ahead.
has to be deployed, right? It still has to
Yes.
be implemented. It still has to be improved upon, observed, and then to your point, the growth of what next can be accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And you also have to live with the fact that AI is not going to be accurate 100% of the time. You
Correct.
have to, with your domain knowledge, know when it's hallucinating and guide it. And it's not just about prompt engineering, but reviewing the output. So even vibe coding, I vibe code every single day now. Right? I'm building not just in my app. I have other apps that I'm building. I'm vibe coding, and I have to review the code that it's being generated by AI, and then I have to snapshot it and man, trace back and really be in control. I'm in the driver's seat. AI is just a tool that I use to get me there faster.
Yeah, and I think that too is that at the end of the day, I was talking to a previous guest of mine, and we were discussing at the speed of which this is moving. And when people would always say that they didn't have enough time, my schedule is too full. Well, by having this tool at our disposal, that removes that conversation from the equation.
Yes.
So now you're at a
Yes.
position where everything that you didn't have time for, you need to make up for learning new skills, operating new processes. Whether it's learning another, if there was ever a time to learn another language, and I've dabbled in it a little bit, learn that second language, because now that business is being conducted in Japanese, Arab, Spanish,
Yes.
Korean. Now you're like, okay, well, now I need to make myself more valuable by learning this particular skill set based upon the fact that now my time is more free than it has been before.
Yeah, it's all about making additional free time so that you can use it more effectively and efficiently towards your goals and
Right.
achieving your goals faster. And you do bring up a very important point that the field is huge and it's growing. It's expanding significantly. Every single day, there's something new in AI,
Right.
right? And
Without question. Without
just
question.
staying relevant is a challenge in its own. But you gotta be mindful of the time you're investing as your own personal time. Which areas are you going to learn more in? So you got to be selective. uh, the tools are exploding in numbers, and for example, one of my clients a few months ago told me about this tool that helps them. It's an AI tool that helps them with their presentation skills.
Beautiful.
So it's called Yodely or something like that. It allows you to speak to the AI, and then it evaluates your speech
Oh
and your
wow.
presentation and helps
Oh,
you
wow.
with your presentation skills.
Right.
So the, just being engaged with the community, also you can learn more about the tools that are available and grow your skills.
I always think that, typically people think in days, weeks, and months, and businesses think in years, decades, and even, the next 10, 15, 20 years ahead. So I think that while, the pandemic was taking place in that bubble, their boards, their teams, they're thinking 5 years down the line, I need to course correct what's taking place right now because, this didn't happen in a vacuum, this little last 3, 4, 5 months, 18
Yes.
months that we've been dealing with. This is 5 years in the making if people are honest with themselves. And it only got accelerated by a worldwide global cataclysmic event.
Yeah. It's even older than that. Like I wrote research papers in AI back in 98,
That's
1998.
amazing.
That
That's
dates me a
amazing.
bit.
Right.
But the what changed recently is uh, our capacity to store large amount of
Yes.
data and our capacity to process large amounts of data in short amounts of time. That's really what, and also to transfer that data. So it's store, move, and process the data at large, massive quantities. We weren't able to do that before. And as a result, we just evolved
Yeah.
the implementation,
Right.
and it got smarter, faster.
I think the perfect example of that is like when George Lucas made Star Wars, right? He and then he did the re-releases. Obviously, money was the first, because he knew people would come back out. But the other thing was I couldn't do this then because the technology simply didn't exist for me to do it. So to your point, everything was already in motion, even if the technology at the time wasn't available to do it. But those
Yes.
people, and him in particular, and in your field, 98, you're like, hey man, this has been 28 years in the making. I tell people all the time, spell checking was your artificial intelligence. When
Yeah. Yeah.
it was that was
Yeah.
that was the tool that you used. So what I found out talking to everybody that's fascinating is there's adaptability and resistance, and the resistance portion is not going to work. Especially as people are retiring, things are aging, and people can, and because this information can be put around the country in very fast models, ultimately it's going to be the people who embrace it that are going to be the most successful.
Yes. Yes. And now the bar is higher.
Oh my gosh.
And getting through that interview loop, uh, you almost need to be you have super strengths, superhuman strengths, because you have exactly the skills they're looking for, and still they're looking for better because they're looking for first of all there's a huge supply of people in the workforce looking for jobs and a smaller demand. Uh, and it just becomes that results in higher competition. So the bar naturally is rising, and you really need to cope and thrive in that environment. So it's challenging, but it can be done. And I have clients who, through my coaching skills and support, they were able to cross that threshold and really land that job even in this environment.
Do you see this waving, this causing a new wave from entrepreneurship, considering the talented people out there? Because at some point, these people could all collectively get together and create their own things. If you're a
Yes.
software engineer and you meet another software engineer, you meet a project manager, you meet all these people, this designer, this UX designer, and you're like, hey, we're sitting in a room together. Let's do something ourselves.
Yeah. And that's why I tell some of my clients who really are struggling to land a position because they're not really they have a big knowledge gap. I tell them to build portfolio careers. A portfolio career is one that allow has is one where they have multiple investments in parallel, and one can generate a little bit of income, one can generate none now but maybe some later, like a startup, right? And maybe you work a small full-time job. So I have a client, for example, who accepted a salary that is half what he made at Amazon because he got laid off on Amazon and he needs to pay the bills. But now with half a salary, at least he's covered from a medical insurance perspective, and he can get by. He's paying his bills, but he now has time and ability to invest in part two of his career.
Correct.
Maybe that startup, maybe his own idea that he was always wanting to do for a while, and
Without
now
question.
it's gives now with AI he can.
Right. And then sometimes hard times build great people, right? And so
Yes,
ultimately, you know, I would encourage everybody not to be a luddite. I don't know if everybody knows what a luddite was. It was the textile workers that destroyed the textile plants in old England. So is everything right about this current technology? No, but it's not going anywhere. And so the number one investment you can do is to learn those skills that you put at the back burner or didn't cultivate. The one thing that I get a chance to talk to you is you've seen all of this up close in the companies that you work for, and now you're willing to share this with other people. And I think that's a
yes,
beautiful thing.
yep. I've been a manager, and I've hired many people throughout my career. I've also been a coach well beyond my time at I Got an Offer for multiple years. I've helped probably over 1,000 people in their career as they develop and grow, as they pivot as well. So I love giving back to the community. It's not every day that you can get the support that I'm providing, and I just want to make a difference.
That's amazing stuff. So I always ask this of every single guest. Number one, you have a book too. Let's make sure we present that book so we can talk about that. You showed it earlier before we hit the record button.
Yeah, this is not my book. This is one of the books I recommend to my
Yes.
clients.
Okay.
System and Design Interview. This is volume two, but there's also volume one. Byte Byte Goes, the company, awesome our authors, Alex Ju and San Lam.
Hmm.
Here are their
Beautiful.
pictures. They also post on LinkedIn. So I reference this a lot to my clients as I help them and coach them in system design interview mock-ups. So
Wonderful.
a lot, even if you're a technical program manager applying for Meta, for example, they will get put you through a system design interview, even though you're not going to be designing a solution from the ground up. But they
Yes.
want to know that the candidate has the ability and skill to think across different concepts that
Right.
bring together a solution that is scalable and valuable to the users and meets the business cases. So there's a lot of basic concepts as well, and
Awesome.
also a format of how to follow a system design interview. And that's something I teach my clients.
That is absolutely wonderful information. And I'm looking forward to obviously getting that book for myself to do some self improvement on my end. I always ask this of every guest, and it's certainly not because they need this show to know who you are or what your accomplishments are, but for the purpose of this show, where can people find Tarek Radi?
Yeah, you can go to igotanoffer.com and you can search for uh, variety of coaches and variety of skills. I'm there as well. Among hundreds of other coaches. Um, just search for Tarek Radi, and I'll be happy to help you guys on your journey and on your pursuit to land that next career move. And additionally, you can look me up on LinkedIn. Again, Tarek Radi, TarekRadi. I'll be I'd love to connect with you guys and answer any questions you may have.
I've been looking forward to this interview for quite some time because people who are at the forefront of technology, AI, and it's not every day that I get a chance to talk to people with experience that you have, in the major companies that you work for. So I was really excited because the spaces that I get a chance to go to and the people I get a chance to talk to in my everyday life, I would have never had the opportunity unless I had this show. So I'm very grateful that in the small space that I've created, I've kind of been able to get access to your guys' world, right? So I'm very appreciative that you reached out to me, and we've had wonderful dialogue, even off the show.
And I really appreciate you making the time to have me on your wonderful show
Thank you.
and share some of the value I bring to
Of
the
course.
community here. Yeah, you do a lot of great work, Rashad. I specifically selected your
Thank you.
podcast because of the
Thank you.
value you bring to your audience. And
Appreciate that.
congratulations and kudos on such a successful career with your podcast.
I would say to anybody who's listening, if you ever want to have a differentiation strategy, your skill set could be staring you in the face. All you have to do is have the will to start it. Like, and nobody is going to give you a break unless you start. And they're still not going to give you a break. You have to stick with it. You have to do it when there's no adulation involved, and you're the only person that's willing to push yourself through it. And that is how ultimately you'll get somewhere where you want to be. But the journey
Yeah.
continues every single day.
Have a vision. It doesn't have to
Yes,
be crystal clear,
without question.
but at least you'll figure it out as you get there and be ready to pivot. I give a very simple analogy to some of my clients. Let's say
Yes,
you're in New York and you're driving to Chicago. Yes, with GPS, you can plug in a specific address in Chicago. Instead of that, think of you're going to be driving from New York to Chicago. Find the routes that get you there. I'm not going to
yes,
specify the neighborhood, the address just yet, right? So you're going to have a route, and then there's an accident along the way. You're going to be rerouted. You're going to
exactly.
take a detour. You may decide, you know what, I have to go around here first. I had to do a pit stop here first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going. Okay, I'm back onto my journey because that was my vision somewhere in Chicago. That's a
Exactly.
very, very wide and non-clear vision, right? It's
Correct.
ambiguous. Then you're gonna zoom in. Okay, I'm gonna be in this neighborhood,
Exactly.
and near downtown, somewhere near there. And then you're gonna zoom in some more. And then you're gonna get the address. You're gonna
Without
get
question.
the
It's beautiful.
floor, and you're gonna get the apartment. And that's okay. Ultimately, that's where you landed. But you won't know that detail once you start. Give yourself that flexibility and leeway to enjoy the journey, right?
Exactly.
And don't set yourself up with a rock hard, solid goal that is not maybe not achievable. Pick smart goals,
I
and
think
that's
you hit
one
the.
way to make a smart pick a smart.
It's almost like when the gold rush happened, guys just knew if I head west long enough, right? That's really what it boils down
Yes.
to. It sounds cliche, right? But like
Yeah.
at some point, I'm just going to head west, and then that's how people who were successful, not everybody, ultimately got to where
Yes.
they. But at least but you never know what could happen along the way. Everybody who didn't make it to the gold rush may have had
Yes.
some success in between there that's not talked about, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
I
find your
think,
support group. That's very
oh
key.
my gosh,
And your coach is a part of your support team,
mm-hmm.
and the coach will help you fine tune your story. Um, there a lot of my clients, they go into details very quickly without explaining the context. So it's and I here's another analogy I give them. It's like um, you're interviewing me, Rashad. Let's assume that for a moment here, and I tell you I tightened the screws, I sharpened the blade, and I cleaned the carburetor. You're lost. Okay, I understand each of these three things on their own, but I'm lost, and that's what
Yes,
usually most of the resumes say.
yes,
And then I have to spend time digging out the details,
extracting,
helping them,
ex-
yeah,
yeah,
clarify a statement. And in this case, the statement could have been, "I improved the efficiency of the lawnmower by 90% by tightening the screws, sharpening the blades, and
exactly.
cleaning the carburetor." So now the story makes sense.
Right.
So they're
Yeah.
just missing that context.
Yeah.
And
Don't be.
coaches
Yeah.
and your support group can help you with that.
You have to pretend like everybody's a total stranger about your story. Really, that's really what it boils
Exactly.
down to. And it's
Yeah.
not their job to
Yep.
fill it in because they only go off what they read. So,
Exactly.
these are the truth for nuggets, the knowledge and insight that normally most people wouldn't get. So I hope people, take this information and run with it and be the best version of themselves. I have been waiting for this interview for quite some time. And I want to tell you how honored I was that you carved out time out of your busy schedule, the innovator that you are, Tarek Radi.
Thank you, Rashad. Thank you very much. Pleasure being on your show. Pleasure talking to you, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for everything you do. Great job.
Appreciate you. You too as well. Thank you.
Thank you.